Hi, and welcome to the Dingers Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch, here with my boys, Jeff and Kevin. Kevin, this is the way. How was your week down in Disneyland? World? The whole world of Disney. How was it?
It was fantastic. Man, is it busy down there, but we had great weather. The kids were awesome. They were excellent. We were a little worried, like you're taking a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old and you're going to have to go wait 2 hours in the line sometimes, and they did a great job.
How were the $17 corn dogs?
Food was kind of pricey, but something we had known because I had gone down there about 10 years ago with my oldest, and you get a lot of food for the money you pay. You just pay a lot, and it's good food, so it was good. Had good stuff. They have a thing. Everybody gets like you get ears while you're down there, like Mickey Mouse ears. Everybody gets a set. Like that's kind of your shtick while you're down there. I couldn't find any that I liked, so instead I got the Mandalorian hat. Big fan. Big nerd. Big nerd. Jeff, hair resplendent as always.
Thanks.
How you doing?
I'm not bad. Looking at the upside of another week. But had a good weekend. Nice warm day today here in Iowa. Looks like we got 3 days of rain, which is great because that means we don't have to go running at CrossFit in the morning. So I'm super pumped about that.
It's true.
So, Mitch, how did you enjoy your week back home in Northeast Iowa, God's country?
Yeah, beautiful country of Northeast Iowa. Went up to Toppling Goliath Brewery, got myself some beer and baseball. What two things do you want to be back in our lives? Beer, especially Toppling Goliath beer, and baseball. And we got both of them this week. But it was beautiful. Got to walk through the woods, go shed hunting. I found a whole bunch of deer sheds, which are antlers if you don't hunt or like that. But yeah, even my son, 3-year-old son Cohen, found a shed. So nice. he was pretty jacked. But team boys beat the girls in finding more sheds. So it was a fun time had by all.
It helps when team boys doesn't abandon their vehicle while it's running.
Yeah, my daughter was driving our John Deere Gator, and and my wife was in the back, and they both spotted one at the exact same time, and they both jumped out while the John Deere Gator was still moving. My daughter didn't even put it in stop or park, just jumped out, and they both tried to grab at the same time. And I'm behind them on the four-wheeler, like, what are you doing? But yep, women. But team boys found more sheds than the ladies. So yeah. But yeah, thanks for joining us and listening to us. Dingers is proudly part of the ChiCitySports.com podcasting network. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your favorite podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel at Chi City Sports YouTube, where you can get extra Dinger content as well other Chi City Sports content. And join the conversation. Follow us on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. We love interacting with you, our listeners and fans, and just other Cubs fans. We love interacting with you. So join the conversation and hit us up on Twitter. But man, it was so good this week to watch Cubs baseball on TV being played. How good was it to be able to watch Stroman on Friday night, be able to pitch and just see the boys back on the field in beautiful Sloan Park in Mesa, Arizona.
Yeah. It was interesting because I had to follow everything via Twitter while I was in Florida, and tons of stuff was happening around baseball. But I saw so many little videos and clips of people throwing things up of Stroman's first pitching outing, Seiya's first hit, folks showing up at the ballpark, getting spring training going. It's exciting times. It's exciting times.
Did you get a chance to watch any there, Jeffrey?
I watched a few innings tonight of the replay of today's earlier game against the Reds. Happened to catch Brennan Davis getting hit in the knee.
Which I was ready to drive to Mesa and fight. I was like, who's with me? Who needs me to pick them up? Let's go. Freaking if a stupid Cincinnati Reds pitcher who can't find the plate and we never will see again ends up hurting our up and coming prospect, I was ready to fight.
Right.
Yeah, and he was the second batter in a row that got hit by a pitch to load the bases with no outs. Too bad we only produced one run out of that, but at least we won the game today, which is nice.
But yeah, I mean, Hendricks pitched the first night, 2 innings, did really well. Stroman followed that up, had 2 innings of really good ball, didn't give up any runs. He even did a little like K strut dance after a K.
You gotta love that. I hope he develops a few different, moves that he has over the season. I want to see that little attitude coming from him.
And it's going to be kind of like in Major League where we will love it, but the opposing teams are going to like hate it. And that's kind of how it was when he was with the Mets. Like,
right.
He just drove people nuts and got under people's skin. And I didn't like it, but now he's part of our team. And so it's kind of like the Dennis Rodman thing. Like, right. I love it when he's a part of our team, but,
it's a good way to actually think about it. Like I remember when Dennis Rodman was on the Bulls and it was like, this is awesome. And it's like, I hated him before, hate him afterwards, but when he was on the Bulls, awesome.
Yeah. And then Justin Steele pitched really, really well on Saturday. Looked lights out. We'll get into talking about the rotation later, but that dude was looking really sharp. His curveball looked nasty. But I think this week kind of just took off with all the different signings that happened this week. The big one being Seiya Suzuki, signed out of Japan. What are your guys' initial thoughts of Seiya?
I think there's a lot of potential there and a lot of upside. The guy just hits bombs.
He hits tanks over in Japan.
Just ridiculous. I see him kind of getting off to a hot start, but then as soon as like pitching catches up with him, he's going to probably go through a little bit of a slump, but I think he's going to be a little bit, like an average hitter, a little bit above average, which, he'll also bring some depth to our outfield, which is good.
What do you think there, Kevin?
Well, at first, because I think I saw that via the phone, I went, who? And then I did a little research, and then I kind of saw that I'd seen him pop up on multiple blogs and kind of some people's thoughts over the last year or two of like, hey, this would be a very interesting person to bring over and add to our outfield. And the fact that he hits as many tanks as he does, I mean, Mitch is showing a little video montage of this dude just smashing balls. But he doesn't swing and miss as much as like, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Patrick Wisdom, but without all the swing and miss.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. And you throw that in our lineup where we've added quite a bit of contact, and you throw him in there being a contact guy who can hit it out of the park. I think he's going to play. And I want to see him play every day for a while. I want to give him a long runway.
Yeah, which we'll get into the crowded outfield here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a big signing. And it's a signing that I think kind of fit the Cubs plan. It's a signing where you're getting a young guy for 5 years, where the next wave of talent that comes through, he's still going to be around for. And he's still young enough where you can kind of build around him and kind of see what type of player he is. Like we listened to Talking Baseball this morning, and they were kind of discussing what does this mean for the Cubs? And I think they hit the nail on the head of it's the Cubs not pushing all the chips into the middle. They're kind of reading the room, and they're going to kind of let this NL Central play out because it's a 3-horse race right now between the Brewers, the Cubs, and the Cardinals. Let's be honest, the Reds have given
dick ballers aren't doing anything.
Do they understand that it's the team with the most wins that makes the playoffs?
Yeah,
right.
They had decided to sell everybody, and I mean, if I was Moustakas and Joey Votto, I'd be like demanding, get me out of here.
Right.
Like Joey Votto deserves better.
Did you see, I think I saw somebody tweeted about Jim Deshaies on the broadcast today. Somebody brought up that the Reds were the first team to pay baseball players, and JD in the background was like, well, they don't anymore.
Exactly right.
how faithful that Joey Votto has been to that organization. He's a really great first baseman and a really great hitter, and there's never ever been anyone around him.
Yep,
It
Joey
seems like
Bats.
right as soon as they get like some players and they look like they could make a statement in the NL Central, they have a fire sale.
Yep.
Right.
Well, I mean, but in talking like this, I think with the Seiya signing, I think it lends to what the Cubs are trying to do. And I know people, like, I got into it on Twitter with some fans, Cubs fans, and maybe in another podcast of them still like this obsession with the guys from the past, with Rizzo and KB. And it's like, dude, they've moved on. They found another girlfriend. Like, it's time that you move on. We have these other young, pretty ladies coming up pretty soon that we can fall in love with again. Like, it's in it. Like,
I don't understand a lot of the fans that wanted to see those three come back.
I mean, I love what they provided. They provided a World Series championship. That's something that I will always remember, always cherish it, but it isn't the mountain peak. Like, for me, like, I enjoyed that, but like thinking like, I want my kids to be able to experience a Cubs World Series championship. Like, it isn't over. Like, we can't just roll over and be done. Like, I want to see them experience that. So that's like the next wave of Cubs talent that's coming up. That's where we can support them and cheer them just as good. They might do things that the 2016 team didn't do. Like,
right.
I mean,
win
two, you win back to back. We don't know, but like to just like constantly think that it's over and our fandom, it gets affected. It's like being a fair weather fan almost. That's like, no, like this is some talent that's coming up, and I trust that Jed, just like back in 2016, when they needed to, they went out and spent. They went out and traded. They went out and got the guys that they needed to put around the young group of talent that was coming up. Just like now, I think the Seiya signing is kind of like the John Lester signing. It's the first one. It's the first one, and they're going to kind of wait and see. Now, back then with Lester, the Cubs did really good that next year, and they almost speeded up Jed and Theo's timeline by a year. I don't think this team is going to do that. I just don't think they have the bats. I don't think they have the arms. I don't think they have the talent quite yet.
Yeah, I think we're a year or two off. Yep.
But give it like a year, and I that's where I think that Talking Baseball hit it perfect, that they're in the wait and see mode. They're going to see how the NL Central shakes up, and then they're going to make their move. So,
I mean, we still got quite a few players from last year's team still on the roster, and then we got a lot of new faces. I mean, they all have to gel and come together and work together. See what pans out. And once you get some confidence in each other, I'm sure that we're going to see a lot more wins than we saw last year.
Yeah.
Well, and as much as I want to be a fan of those 2016 guys, I'm going to be a fan for them when they're playing on these other teams. But Mitch is reading what I read just a second ago. But really,
I like your message, Michael.
Yeah. Really, I'm a fan for the Cubs every year. And I like the players we have. Yes, we're not quite there, maybe. Like casual MLB fan, his question, can the Cubs sneak a wild card maybe? That's where I think Jed's really kind of, like you put it, they're not quite pushing all the chips in, but I think they're going to see what they get. And really, in the NL Central, they could maybe get there. Maybe. But we'll see how it shakes out. But it gives them a lot of options in the next year or two.
Ton of money on like to spend. They have hardly anything on the books. When Hayward comes off, like they're gonna have even more money. Like,
it's just millions.
Like when we look at Seiya, like look at his stats from Japan. Like his year that he won the MVP, he batted .335, smacked 25 dingers, and had 25 stolen bases, and he won a Gold Glove 4 times.
That's 10.
He's a 5-tool player. Like I know that it's like AAA baseball, if you can compare it over in Japan. I do have a concern that it's going to take a little bit of time for him to adjust. I think he's going to start slow. I think velocity is going to get him for a while, and until he kind of gets his timing down, then you'll start see things clicking. But I like the signing. I think it opens up the door for them to make more moves and go and trade when they needed to. I am so glad they didn't sign Correa. From the get-go, I wasn't a Correa fan. I don't know if it's just that I think he's a cheater. I don't like his personality. I don't like he just rubs me the wrong way. Is he a great player? Yes. But you could see, even though with that Twins deal, it's going to be a 1-year deal. He's going to make bank here again with next year. I was never all in on Correa. I was kind of letting what Jed did was perfect. I think what he got the guys they needed. Could he have done a little bit more? I think he could have. I think he could have gotten a left-handed at bat, power bat. That could have kind of helped. But I think the guys that they picked up were really, really good. But when talking about Seiya, Suzuki, we need to kind of talk about this outfield. And man, this outfield is crowded. We have Ian Happ.
No matter what, we can still only play 3, right?
Yep.
Like that's a rule.
Yeah, I don't think the rover is in all the rule changes. I don't think the rover was added. But let's go through the list. You have Ian Happ, Clint Frazier, Hayward, Ortega, Hermosillo, Ramirez, Crook, Brennan Davis. So there's the list that I would say that are probably going to see action this year in this outfield. Now it's how do we split up and make sure these guys get the playing time that they need and deserve. So who are the guys that you're like, this guy needs to get playing time, needs to get at bats? Jeffrey, let's start with you. Who's the guy that on that list that's like, okay, we need to see more of this guy. He needs to be getting that bats.
Probably Hermosillo. Yeah, Hermosillo, whatever. Cripes. Can't talk.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, we got a little bit of a taste of him last year, and I think he did fairly well in the playing time that he saw. I think we need to see a little bit more of him to see what's there.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what Hap we get this year. You know, like I don't know if that's going to translate to a lot of playing time at the beginning, or if he's just going to see a lot of playing time against right-handers. But it's always that, you know, is it cold weather Hap? Is that just the deal? Is it just you got to wait till June and July and then you throw him in then? And are we going to see Suzuki before that? I don't know.
Boy, I don't know.
The one that I'm looking forward to is Clint Frazier. I mean, if we've watched him in the 2 games he's played in spring training, I mean, he worked, I think, 2 walks his first night, had a base hit, drove in a guy the first night. The next night, he had a base on ball. Like, he works good counts, takes good at bats. I think he was hampered by being a big personality and being in New York, where they're trying to make everybody cookie cutter and the same. And they didn't let him be himself. And so right away, you see him growing out the beard. You see him growing out his hair. I mean, there's a reason why he was a top 10 pick in the draft. Like, he has legit talent. And I want to see him get a chance and get the ABs. I think you're going to see him getting some DH spots. You saw him make a really good catch even in spring training. He can play the field. Like, I'm interested, and I really want to see Clint Frazier at the beginning of the year get that bats so we can see what we have in him.
Man, I hope his plate appearances and the way he works counts is contagious to some of these younger hitters.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many names in here. Because, like, are we just going to have Ortega sit on the bench all year? Like, what about Ramirez? Like, we haven't seen him at all. Like,
I mean, he showed up late to camp because of travel issues.
Right.
I really think he has an option if I can.
Well, Hayward has 3, so if we need to, make some room, I'm sure he'd love to come to Des Moines and make.
Harold Ramirez has no options. So if he does not make the team, he's going to be DFA'd.
Yikes. Hell yeah. And he's one I'm not sure we're going to squeak through.
I mean, and especially starting spring training late, I think he's going to be one of the odd man out. I don't think we're going to see him ever lace it up in a Cubs uni at Wrigley Field. But here's kind of how I would look at breaking it down versus left-handed pitchers. In our outfield, I think Clint Frazier is going to start in left. Hermosillo should start in center. And Seiya Suzuki should start in right, with Madrigal DHing, Simmons playing shortstop, Horner at second, Schwindel at first, Contreras catching. Versus right-handed pitching, it might look a little bit different. Happ in left, Ortega in center, and still Suzuki in right. And Hayward, I'm sorry, like you're gonna have to get comfortable on the bench, buddy. You're gonna have to
get that nice, luscious seat. A nice padded little backrest for you. Get used to some Chicago dogs.
Yeah, I mean, he could pass out Chicago dogs to the players that aren't playing. I mean, I think last year, didn't we have something where he was going to start a cushion?
Oh, yeah, a cushion challenge or something like that. He was going to have people design it.
I thought he was going to start his own business where he was going to make cushions because he was going to be sitting on the bench so much next year.
I don't know that he needs a business. He's getting paid millions.
We should send him a hemorrhoid donut.
Yeah, definitely. But that's who I think, like Ortega, he can rake against righties. You put him left on left, and he looked horrible last year. Unless he did some really big work this offseason, he struggles against righties. So, yeah, in left or in center field, him and Hermosillo need to be sharing time. Hermosillo needs to get all the starts against lefties. Ortega, all the starts against righties. I want to see Seiya. We signed him to that big deal. I want to see him out in right field. Maybe Hayward can move over and play some center if Ortega isn't cutting it, if he's just falling off, or Hermosillo gets hurt. At least we have Hayward kind of move over to center. And then I want to see Clint Frazier and Happ kind of bounce back and forth. If Happ is starting the season, which he typically does not start the season well, but if he starts the season like he did last year and is struggling, I want to see Clint Frazier out there and left.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Because, I mean, typically Happ has really struggled to start seasons.
Hey, so I was just kind of doing some looking around. Clint Frazier hasn't one more year option.
He does have an option.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't want to see him. Well, I do want to see him at AAA because I want to go see him play, but I don't necessarily want to see him there for the big league team.
And Ian Happ has two options. Now, if we use that on Ian Happ, like
yikes.
He's traded. He's gone. Like at this point, like he's in the league, almost like Clint Frazier though too. Clint Frazier was kind of used the same as Happ the last couple seasons with New York. So I it's almost like we can't do that to them. I think it would mentally break them a little bit to get sent down.
So is it kind of an idea outside of Suzuki that we're going to see center and left field played as platoon ball? You're going to kind of have your lefty bats and you're going to have your righty bats, and that's where it's going to sit for a while.
I think they're going to get some spot starts with Hayward out in left or right and put Suzuki in DH. But I mean, what we liked so much about the DH before in 2020 was getting Contreras some rest and using Contreras as the DH. So I don't know how they're going to do that. Somebody asked earlier in the chat, do we think that they're going to sign and extend Contreras?
I think that depends. I think that depends on how the season goes.
They need to extend Contreras. They have nobody behind him in the organization besides Miguel Amaya, and he just had Tommy John. That's a good catching prospect. Unless they're going to plan on trading and getting one. I mean, catchers don't come every day, like come in your organization like Contreras. Is going to cost some money, but they need to go after it and get Contreras signed.
And I think it'd be kind of silly to trade Contreras and then a year later trade for catchers.
Yeah.
Like I would love to see them extend him. He's like you said, we've got nothing kind of behind him for a little while, so it'd be great to lock him down. Though I can see them trying to use him as a piece at the deadline if we're fully out of it, which is unfortunate because I think that hurts the next couple of years, which I don't think is the plan. But who knows?
I do say I really like Jan Gomes behind the plate. Marcus Stroman had nothing but really high praise of his pitch sequencing, even the first night of not really knowing Marcus Stroman, the first night that they worked together, which you already see Ross putting Stroman and Jan Gomes together, because I
Ross is
think
playing some chess behind the scenes, folks.
because if you put Stroman and Contreras, that's almost like a little too much crazy out there in the field at one time, and you will almost guarantee that we're gonna have a fight with the other team. Like it wouldn't go well.
That
Yeah.
would be like Crash Davis and Eddie Calvin LaLoosh.
Yep.
I think it was the TV show How I Met Your Mother that had the hot crazy scale. And
Yeah.
that zone, that zone where it's like too hot and too crazy.
Crazy.
That's Contreras Stroman together at the
Yep.
same time.
Definitely. Definitely. But we did have a question on Twitter from @John Stevens. Bullpen has been a strength in the past. How does our bullpen look this year? Yeah, you're right. One thing that I will give credit to Jed is that he can put together a bullpen. And every year it seems like he picks these guys up off waivers. He makes a little trade, picks a free agent up, and puts together a pretty good bullpen that's a good balance of young guys and veteran guys. We saw it last year with Tapera. We saw it with Chafin. We saw it with getting Kimbrel. We see him constantly doing that. And this year, I mean, we see him working his magic right away, getting David Robertson. If you're in Chicago, you've seen him lace it up for the White Sox. He dominated with the Yankees. I think we last saw him 2 years ago with Tampa. We saw him pick up Michael Givens with the Reds, did a little bit of closing with the Reds and with the Orioles. Daniel Davis. We picked up our old friend, Jesse Chavez. I mean, this bullpen is coming together quite strongly. Who is somebody that you really want to see in the bullpen this year, Kevin?
I really want to see some more of that Scotty Efros. One, that arm angle and stuff is so much fun to watch. That combo of his sinker slider just looks disgusting. And then I did see a little clip of him striking out on a righty-righty matchup. He's kind of busted out a changeup a little bit.
Yeah.
Just wipe out changeup, which would be fantastic for him.
I mean, every bullpen needs a funky delivery guy. And Scotty Efros is like that perfect. Like he has that little like ephus pitch that looked nasty the other night. Mm-hmm. Jeff, who's the guy in the bullpen that you really want to see or excited that you kind of picked up?
I'd have to say Jesse Chavez. We had him in 2018, and in I think 32 starts, he had like a 1.15 ERA. And then last year in 30-some games with the Braves and 4 starts, he was 3.2 with a 2.14. So he hasn't really dropped off too much. Hopefully he's still firing some bullets and will help us out in some high-leverage situations.
Yeah, I mean, and then put that together with Mad Rod. Like, I really was like, he could just 100. He has gas. I'm really interested to see what they do with him. I really like the Steven Brault pickup, even though he'll start the year probably on the injured list, kind of tweak something here to start the season. So, but I think he's a guy that will be kind of float back and forth between the pen, and he has started in the past. I will say Nico Horner hit his first home run off Steven Brault, and I think he gave up one of Wisdom's first home runs with the Cubs last year. So, I mean, it was like he played for the Cubs last year, even though he was with the Pirates. But I'm pretty sure the Pirates, I mean, they gave up a lot of home runs to every team.
I sure did.
So, but this bullpen, like, I think it's going to be a strength again. I think it's going to be one where you could see them flipping maybe a guy. You could see them. And the thing is, they have some guys down even in Iowa. Ben Leeper. I'm so excited to see that guy pitch. Hopefully he can get an opportunity in Chicago, because he was really solid last year to end the season with Iowa.
Right, and I think we're going to see like Keegan Thompson start out back in the bullpen. We got a lot of arms potentially in the rotation, and I think Keegan saw so much success coming out of that bullpen at first that I think might as well put him back there.
We're pretty well crowded everywhere.
Right?
Field, bullpen, starters.
We haven't even got into the infield because let's move to that next. This infield is crowded as well. We have Wisdom, Madrigal, Horner, Bodie, who's injured. Probably won't be back for a while. We picked up Villar, which our boy Jake has been on that for a while. Mm-hmm. I think even like at the end of last season, he was like, he's a guy that we should pick up, can kind of float around. Alcantara, Schwindel, Rivas, and then Simeon. Or Angel Simmons. There's a lot of guys there that are buying for spots. Alfonso Rivas has been absolutely murdering the ball in spring so far. I don't think he's going to start the season with the Cubs. I think he's going to be down in AAA. Even that Young that played the season to end with the Iowa Cubs had a home run yesterday. It just been tearing the cover off the ball. But when you look at the Cubs kind of around the diamond, we have Wisdom probably locked down at third base. I think the Villar pickup is kind of some insurance with Wisdom. Because, he ended the season with a lot of Ks, a lot of swing and miss, really struggled. We saw his home runs kind of go down the last 3 weeks. I think Villar is going to be the pickup that if you see a little fall off, that Villar can slide over to third base. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that Bodie is going to be out eventually. Like, he might not even put on a uniform this year. I think Horner might have to look over his shoulder if he's oft injured or kind of slumping at the plate, because there's a lot of great players in this infield that can get the job done.
I think Cubs are really going to benefit from the potential for an expanded roster at the beginning of the season, which a lot of that's going to go towards pitching. But I think an extra positional player or two will help the crowdedness, so to speak. But I think it's kind of similar to how they've built bullpens in the last few years. They've built the outfield and the infield both with the idea of here's some backup plans. Here's some other people who can slide in if Wisdom goes on an epic strikeout streak or something, then you got Villar who can fill in. If Horner's hurt, you can put Villar there. Like Madrigal's around. I don't see Alcantara sticking around much. I don't know what his contract looks like if he's got minor league options or not. That's where I assume
he has 0 options.
I thought he was kind of on a win it or lose it. Maybe he can get outrighted. Who knows? Or DFA'd. Rivas, I like stashing him in case something happens to Schwindel. He plays like a video game player. Eventually that's got to end, right? Or it's just legitimate.
Maybe that's who he is.
I would love to see it.
He barrels baseballs, man.
Right?
And that plays.
God, love Frank the Tank. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because we've had such mainstays at a lot of these positions over the years that right now we've got a lot of question marks, but I think they're exciting question marks. Like will Wisdom and Schwindel be the guys we had last year? Will that Madrigal Horner up the middle combo be as epic as we dream it can be?
Yeah, when I put up that list, I look at like just contact. I think it's a good balance, man. Like if Horner starts at second base and Madrigal's DHing, you have 2 guys that are high contact. You have Suzuki that's high contact. You have Schwindel that's high contact. And then you have that balanced in with Contreras, Wisdom, and Frazier that have some pop in their bat. Like I love that. I actually like that lineup. I think that's a lineup that plays and can push teams to make the playoff. Against right-handed, you have Happ in there with some pop in the bat. You have Wisdom, pop in the bat. But then you have Madrigal and Nico shortstop and second base with high contact. And you move Clint Frazier down to DH. Suzuki, another high contact out in the outfield. And Ortega's another high contact guy. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the last 4 or 5 years with our team that there hasn't been a really diversified lineup. It's been a lot of guys that have the same profile. And here it's a lot of different guys. It's good to have a Nick Madrigal Nicky two strikes. Like he just puts the bat on the ball. Like he worked the count. You saw it even today in his 2 at bats. He worked a full count. He put the bat in the ball. Like he's going to be one that I think I'm super excited to see Nick Madrigal play in Wrigley Field. I think he's going to be great. And this isn't even like, we aren't even to the point where we get in June and we call up Brennan Davis and throw him in there. And that's some big bop in the order. Or we call up Nelson Velasquez. I don't know. Throw him in there. There's so many guys that I think that this team it's going to play and we're going to score some runs. And when we look at our rotation, we have 3 guys in our rotation in Miley, Hendricks, and Stroman. They're going to get a lot of wins and are going to keep us in a lot of ball games. And then Steele maybe getting a 5 spot in the rotation. He should. Mm-hmm. And then you have Alec Mills in there, who I'm not super high on. We just picked up Smiley again, getting him again. Alzolay is injured, which stinks. He's going to be out for 2 to 3 months. Hopefully he comes back strong. That's where maybe Thompson will pick up a start here once in a while, especially at the beginning of the season when guys' arms aren't built up. But that's where I like our team so far. Would have been nice if we would have maybe spent a little bit more and got a power bat, got like a Schwarber. Yes. But we don't need another outfielder. We have a crowded outfield the way it is. There's going to be some cuts. We're sitting at like 46 guys on a 40-man roster. Something's got to give here with this team. But I do like the guys. And I don't know. Are you guys like me where it was like you really loved Rizzo, you really loved Javi, you really loved those guys? Like even my kids, like my 3-year-old will go like, "Where's Rizzo? Where's Rizzo?" And it's like we fell in love with just not only them the player, but them the person. Where these guys we don't really know yet, but what I've loved is that the Cubs are out there doing some really cool things on their YouTube, putting out videos about Brennan Davis, videos on Wisdom, videos on Schwindel coming out. So we are getting to know them as people. The video on Nick Madrigal was great. Like that's what we need. I'm glad the Cubs are starting to do that because the fans need to get to know these players so they get invested in them and they see them. That's what they did so well with Rizzo and Bryant and Javi.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what people miss is that they got to watch these players develop and grow into the players that they are. But at the same time, it's time to change the playlist and figure something else out. So, yeah, I mean, I was sad to see all those 3 guys leave last year, but at the same time, they were doing a real great job of helping us win. So.
Jake just said that he needs some Rivas platooning in with Schwindel, which, I mean, even if that opens the door of putting Rivas, who's another contact bat, in the order and moving Schwindel to DH. And that changes the lineup even more and gives more options. Like that's the thing, like that all these guys give David Ross a ton of options that he can kind of work his magic. Hopefully it's going to I think this is where you're going to see who David Ross is as a manager.
Right. I totally agree. I think his scorecard is going to be a mess because he's going to have all sorts of different little chess matches he can put together against the opposing pitching staff. I think it's going to be fun to watch. And to then for us to break down and be like, so what was he thinking here? And we can be mad or happy about it.
I thought Jake was grounded because he didn't eat his vegetables. How did he get his phone?
Well, you go to the bathroom, you sneak that in with you. Yep. We love you, Jake.
Goodness.
Yeah, like I mean that opens up like when you throw like I'll bring that little graphic back up, but when you throw Rivas in there at first and you put Frank then at DH, I mean that would give Madrigal a rest, or it could give Clint Frazier, somebody in the outfield, a rest. I mean, give Simeons a rest.
I'm just excited to see the Cubs have the possibility of producing some runs playing the small ball and not having to rely on the dinger, even though I do love watching baseballs leave the yard.
Yeah,
love balls getting hit hard.
I mean, our name of our podcast is Dingers, but I do like manufactured runs, and that's something that we haven't seen enough of in years past, of us manufacturing runs. And I think this year we're going to see some hit runs. I think we're going to see more getting guys moving. We have some speed. We have guys that can put bat on the ball and move some guys over. We're going to see the sacrifice fly. We're going to see a sack bunt. We're going to see the things that we haven't seen before, and it's going to be fun to kind of watch.
Yeah, as much as miss the old folks, there's some exciting stuff ahead.
Yeah, but what I've liked is that the Cubs are on every single day. It seemed like Marquee is carrying almost all the games, which is nice. They aren't carrying, what is it, the cornhole championships?
The American Cornhole Championships or bowling, which is fantastic because I figured this year they'd add like lawn darts or some crap.
So yeah, I'm glad they've added that. And the radio. We got to listen to little Pat the other day. It was great. It's like, that's the sound of summer right there. Sound of summer is listening to Pat Hughes and drinking some Toppling Goliath beer.
Oh, gotta love the Toppling
out
Goliath
on my
beer.
porch. That's what I do.
Mitch, what flavor are you drinking tonight?
Camp Shandy Shore lemon. It's like it's quite tasty. It's like summer in my mouth. Like it's got lawn chairs on the can and like a little lake. It's all about summertime.
I do love a nice shandy after I've mowed the yard. Always goes down smooth.
I got one of it's Kevin's wife's car. It's called the Witch's Broom.
Zing!
I like it. Nice.
Don't tell Christy.
I've got my usual favorite, fancy pseudo Sue. Can't beat that one.
Sue.
Love it.
But yeah, stay tuned to us. I mean, we're going to be down in Iowa. We have some interviews with some Iowa Cubs players lined up, ready to go. So when that season starts, we're going to be giving you the action. But man, you look at the schedule, it's 2.5 weeks and it's go time to opening day. It's 17 days today.
Yeah.
Right? I got to figure out how I'm getting Marquee. I've got a couple avenues to it and just haven't settled in on which one was breaking it down.
Maybe they'll come out where they can do their app that they've talked about forever and actually get that thing out there.
God, I love it.
For people to just pay a subscription to Marquee and not have to get everything else. But yeah, I mean, that would be great. But I do like that the Marquee has actually been putting games out. I wish they would have covered the Seiya Suzuki press conference. I feel like that was kind of a drop ball there. They could have really got the fans excited even more.
Right.
And he had the little clip of Mike Trout, I love you. Come on.
It's really funny that, baseball for years has struggled to market their best players. And a guy from Japan comes over and is like, yep, by the way, here's the best player. And I love him. And I'm a big fan of baseball and I play it. And I'm glad to be here now. That's
because Japan isn't blacked out of Major League Baseball.
That's true.
They're out of the regional.
Jeepers. Touche.
Well, yeah, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. We love interacting with you. Hit us up, ask us any questions. Thanks for all the comments on the video. We love interacting while we're doing this. It makes us a little bit fun when we're seeing comments. So yeah, please keep doing that. We love that. Join our Facebook group at Dinger Cubs and follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is where all of our podcasts will be up, and we'll be providing more content as well of shorter videos breaking down different things throughout the season. So follow us on there. But yeah, thanks for joining us this week on episode number 71 of the Dingers podcast.
Nice.